enterprising movement on this near side from Jackson. In the end, it's the side netting. They'll have to settle for. It's Ross Marshall again looking lively.
Well, Ross Marshall has been trying to defend and as well go high up front and try and attack. Because of his strength, he has to do double the job most of the time. When Torino has to play a very long ball, he has to drop deep.
So, Silutola on yet another one of those interesting little runs towards the byline, loses his footing at a crucial point and ends up doing some damage to himself. We'll be hoping it's not too serious. He's been amongst the most exciting for Tuks here this morning.
He's becoming quite very well from the left-hand side, but right here he was just unlucky. He had to actually try to make the cross with his left foot, but his right foot had already committed and was falling. I think he may have just pulled a muscle there, but it doesn't look that dangerous. He's walking it's just limping a little bit. He might come back to the game.
Closing down and pressure applied right from the attacking areas from Tuks. Goal kick it will be to Torino, but credit to Tuks. Even as the goals have flown in, it hasn't thwarted their willingness to put up a bit of a fight here and try and make things happen on the front foot, as we saw from Ross Marshall earlier, as well as the runs we've seen from Silotola and a few others. They still are trying to make a game of this, and well, they need to be commended for not dropping their heads.
Well, they did not drop their heads. That's what is very interesting about that. Tuks have not dropped their heads and they're looking forward to just converting their chances.
Just made a change, Tuks here, with Ngozi. Anything went?
The injured player, Silotola, had to come out.
Or rather, Ngozi coming on for Silotola. I beg your pardon. Thanks, Mo. Nice touch. Very nice touch. Nicely done in trying to get to the byline. The recovery from Oduba defensively was impressive. Again, they aren't giving up on the fight yet, Tuks.
You had indicated earlier on that they have not dropped their head. Look at the recovery from this player. He exceptionally ran back to actually try and block whoever was running them down, which is good. They've not dropped their head.
There's the injured party in Silotola. He really did give Tuks a nice outlet in the attacking areas and pushing forward and having a run at the Torino players. He took responsibility in that regard. He of the Dragon Ball Z hairstyle as that replaced him in Ngozi. Super Saiyan 4 out there.
Hairstyles that are done by the likes of Timber Boy.
Run Bissett. Oh, you losing here, so.
Well, we're the Chisco guys.
Yeah. Keep it simple. As you would expect with footballers, we have seen some out there hairstyles, but I think the one side that's got the most out there of the hairstyles has been easily the Safa Twane side. They've got a few of those hairstyles that we saw very similar to Ngozi out there. Now, the movement is good here in keeping it alive, and well, he won't quite get to the end of it then, Zipolito. He's huffed and puffed and deserved to get in amongst the scorers here today. As much as the likes of Rauti, Munari and Gonella have, he's worked hard at creating chances for the rest of them.
Well, he's been creating chances. It's just unlucky for him that Tuks are actually coming up to the game and blocking them as early as possible. So he's really trying to get to the 6 yards or the 18 area and trying to get a goal, but it's not possible for him because the Tuks players are always blocking him every time when he tries to make that final touch.
You see that ran back and won it back in midfield just to show his work rate then. He's made the diagonal runs, he's made the forward runs, he's also dropped back to, well, there he is, Muscle. Possession back for his side. Fact, on that occasion, It was Paulo Matera, the man who came in off the bench, but the initial disruption of the touch play came from Dipolito. Ngozi. We haven't seen too many crosses from Tax here this morning. We've seen a lot of running towards that byline, but they haven't gotten it out wide and just sent in the big man or the balls towards the big man in Ross Marshall enough.
Well, that's the first cross that I've ever taken, actually. And if Marshall Rose was used to the crosses, he could have been there. But now, it hasn't been happening for them. So that's why the cross went all the way out, because he's no longer there. He's dropping too deep. The balls are being played very low. So he's really not competent when it comes to the high balls.
So him win a flick on a two in the very opening minutes of this match, which suggests that they worked it out wide and floated those crosses in. He may have had a bit of a chance in that regard. He's a powerful, hard-running man, and also got quite a workload on him. Always looks to stick to the central areas as well, which is always nice to see from a striker. You want a striker who gets into the hot zone, so to speak.
That's all you need. He needs to always be there because they depend on him. He's the final man to make those final touches, tap the ball in, jump compete for all the high balls. So that's what they need. But right now, he's been demotivated because he hasn't been more effective high up front there. He's been more effective when it got to defense or just running for the ball most of the time.
See him now making the run, then he wanted the ball over the top, it came along the ground and was intercepted, and his body language looked that of a dejected man, as you do point out. The lack of service is hurting those runs, because he is making those runs a lot of times outside of your picture, but he's had very little to work with in the way of quality balls in his direction.
Lay them down for their teammates to take shots or just pull a combination play.
Monari amongst those involved out on that far side as the support of Coppola in the end wins the throw-in. With that throw-in, they all will be disappointed with themselves slightly then. Tax, fortunate that the whistle has gone, but they allowed Dipolito to receive that and turn into the box, which would have been a concern.
Or they had pushed a little bit forward to force that offside. They were just lucky the linesman was there and they picked it up as early as possible.
Coppo sul 13. Matte, vieni un po' più in qua. Matte, su 8.
Ball moved along the ground then by Pukubia. He is on it once again as they combine in midfield with Cullen Aranza. In with men inside the box. They don't take the opportunity to send in the early cross from the wide areas. May do so now. Again, looks to have the beating of the defender. In the end, runs himself into trouble. Was a chance to send in the early cross, and they haven't taken it often enough, Tux. Hence one cross that comes to mind all game long. Tireless is Dipolito. Tireless. His work rate is impressive.
All he wants is to get into the box of the opponent, and he's been pushing. He deserves it.
Space in midfield. Nicely done in protecting the ball and keeping it away from the opponent. Now, good combination play. The shot from range then is too hot to handle. Served up, and eventually it may be a Dipolito goal, or may in fact go down as an own goal. I say eventually because Dipolito deserves to get in amongst the scorers, but that may have been taken away from him by the defender, in this case Bitboy. Keeper can hold on.
He could not. He was out indecisive, and now Bitboy, just when he's supposed to just hit the ball outside, he decides to score in his own goal. Maybe he tripped and fell, and then it went into the back of the net.
Yep.
This is actually an own goal.
It's Red Boy who scores the own goal, and he hasn't had the best of mornings. You remember he was involved with the second goal I think scored on the day, where he had a chance to clear it, missed it, and the spin once the ball came off the surface saw it go over the goal line, and he's tried to deny Zipolito, but in so doing turned it into his own net. The error is, well, he's unlucky on this occasion. He's doing the right thing. In all fairness to him, in battling for the ball and looking to ensure Zipolito doesn't get his own way. Unfortunate to see it roll on the inside of the post rather than the outside out for a corner.
It was a good cover, but I think if he tripped and he just fell, and you know this pitch is not really an easy pitch to actually just stand your ground every time when you're running. So he slipped, and then he tried with his right foot, he could not reach for the ball. When he wanted to wave it out of the goalpost with his left foot, that's when it went into the back of the net.
Well, it's 5 for Torino. Keep in mind, it's the 10 men of Torino, by the way. They've had a man sent off right in the early stages of the second half. They scored 2 goals in the second half, 3 in the first. That's not even easy to pick up that Tuks have an extra man out on that field, but it is the case. Still the openings for Torino. We'll be making another change. Will University of Pretoria, Vitboy, who's made the error, will make way. Remember earlier on it was Valibaloi that made the error that led to a goal. He was substituted as well. So it's the turn of Vitboy after, well, being involved in the concession of 2 goals. Kandrin Naidu will come on in his place.
Looks like the coach takes you out when you make such
Unforgiving.
No.
We say jokingly.
It's like, you know, when you play a kasi,
Yeah.
keep.
Yeah.
That's the way the coach is playing this game right now.
Well, even the keeper has been substituted from a touch point of view, but then again, that's gone both ways. Both goalkeepers have conceded 3 for the man in the first half, 2 for the man in the second. Russ Marshall. Well, he's trying to make things happen, Russ Marshall. After Silotola left the field injured, he's the one man that's consistently run at the Torino defense. Again, a bit of arguing amongst teammates here. Get the feeling they aren't quite on the same page at times. They were looking for the ball. He went for the shot earlier on. He wasn't, or his body language wasn't too pleasing. Didn't look as though he was pleased with the service he was getting.
No. The teammates had already pushed into the box and he was just running with the ball. They kept on calling him Ross, but he was not looking. The only thing he wanted was to just put a shoulder down, sell the other opposition one side, and then would just take a shot with his right foot.
Coppola. Olio.
Batti la punizione, vai dentro. Mate, batti, centrami la testa di...
The one thing we've missed the most out of this year's tournament as the changes are rung in once again. Mentioned that Kandrin Naidu would be coming on.
Right back.
Yep, as I was saying, the one thing we have missed the most is the schools that adopted the various sides. That was very evident in the years gone by, where you'd have the schools out in that far grandstand with the flags and the school uniform, especially in the last few days of the week. And the lads would score a goal and go celebrate with the various schools so that the flags of the countries the school that adopted were from. And that was a nice feature. Hasn't quite been that evident this year. which has been missed. Of course, they do provide a nice atmosphere. The kids from the various schools in the surrounding areas, once they do pop up and add, of course, to what we've seen in the late afternoons with the arrivals of those that come out of junior school and high school later on in the day, including the adults.
Well, the numbers have been coming this week, but they'll come late, maybe after 12 during the week. It could be that in the morning they're giving the chance to attend classes, and then at 12 they'll dismiss classes and then send them to the stadium. But other kids, sometimes they'll dodge and just go home. The likes of me, I used to do that.
Yeah. Not surprised to hear that, no?
It's okay, man, it's okay.
Yeah.
Shot left.
Coppola, bit of space. Frustrated with himself. Didn't get it right with the connection at all. At time, at space, had an invitation to have a crack.
Well, he's been frustrated throughout the game. He hasn't done what he normally does in the game. Maybe he's keeping a little bit of discipline as well. Coppola would go hard on a player at any given time. He'd have a yellow card for right now. I think he was looking for that good connection with the ball, but it was just not happening for him. He wanted to take the cracker, but it did not have a good position.
Remember his return now after his suspension. I do believe he's learned his lesson. Now, here's a chance at that goal that's just eluded him throughout the hour, just about here. Ricardo Dipolito protecting the near post was the man between the sticks in Narison Putu.
Well, good run by Dipolito. He took the shot to the first pole, but the keeper was already there by the first pole. He decided just to be safe, just tap it outside the goal post, because if you try and handle that ball, it might result into a goal.
Morris working hard as ever. Oh, that's nicely picked up on the move then, but the defending was top-notch then. So impressive from Graziani.
The strength at the back is actually quite impressive for Torino. So they're able to allow you to push the ball, and then they'll put the body in front of you so that you cannot get the second chance to take the shot or just try and force them to commit anything. They just block you. They've been impressive so far.
So the University of Pretoria coach then, Nicholas Stord, watching on, things not going his way in the way of ending the tournament on a possible high. But the development side would have learned quite a lot during the course of this week. Of the 2 minutes added on to the end of the hour, with each game an hour long, we've had just over 30 seconds go by. Now for Tax looking to pull one back and putting respectability on their score line. Now there's the shots. Good block. They have protected their keepers also well here, even with the 10 men.
Look, they're very impressive when it comes to blocking all the time. There's always two men blocking one player that's trying to take a shot all the time. They know what they have at stake, so they really need to block all the time.
Well, getting shots on target on a regular basis has been the challenge for the University of Pretoria, with seconds remaining on the board now. Mo, let's get your final thoughts on the Tucson Torino experience, not just in this match, but throughout the week.
Well, good impressive performance, a very impressive performance from both teams. They just never had, the luck was not on their side actually, but they had a very good run. They've learned a lot. They can actually fix it and come back around. Tax is an academy. They've learned something. This is their first time taking part in the tournament, I believe. So they will go back to the drawing board and look at beefing up a very good squad and just coming with something solid, because they believe in a young development. They've got academies from the ages of 10. So you'd expect them to do better when they get to this tournament, because players are just circulating within their academic structure. So Club Torino, it was just unlucky. They were champions in 2015. 2016 they're not, so unlucky for them.
Yep, and once again, for a third match in this tournament, Torino had a man sent off. That's been their major problem, discipline. Although finding the back of the net was hardly a problem. Bitboy scoring an own goal, and then Munari getting a brace, as well as Gonella with a lovely start to this game, and Nicola Rauti for Dipolito, maybe the most unlucky of players out there in not having found the back of the net. But well, for Torino, it's the ending they wanted in this tournament, in scoring, well, 5 and ending it on a high 5. In fact, there's a nice touch on the field with one of the Torino players handing his shin guards to one of the youngsters that's come onto the field. So it's a fun farewell to Torino. We hope to see them once again in the very near future. They, of course, winners in 2015. They added to quality this year. Maybe their best performance coming late in the tournament here this morning on the very last day. They'll look to come back and do better next time around. It's Torino 5, University of Pretoria 0, as Torino seal 9th spot. Well, the goal started coming early as the 3rd minute.
Beautiful one. Nicely trapped, laid it for himself, and then he laced the ball. The keeper had no chance of some sort to reaching for that ball because he had already committed to the left, and that was just a very good goal from Gonella, opening it up for them.
Katawa was the man between the sticks early for the University of Pretoria. He was beaten in and was to be beaten again after the misjudgment of the flight of the ball then by Fali Baloi.
That was a true misjudgment of the ball right there. He did not know what to do, and the coach had to sub him out. But Dipolito, he's been trying to run them down, always just poking that ball. It just hit the far post, and then luckily his fellow teammate was there to just tap it into the back of the net.
The unluckiest of men not to have found the back of the net here today. Dipolito worked as hard as anybody else, and I do believe by the end of the game was the most influential player for Torino going forward, involved in all of the right things. And on this occasion, it's Bitboy who's beaten by the ball coming down, misses the volley altogether. The spin hops it over the line.
Look, the spin hops it over the line for sure, but Rauti was running down. Always it's a one-on-one, and they missed the one-on-one. But the second ball, the regroup always is converted into the goal. This one was just a second ball from the keeper. Actually, Rauti didn't even have a touch. He just guided the ball into the back of the net.
Well, it was a rough first half. It didn't get any easier in the second for the University of Pretoria. They conceded within the first 3 minutes of the restart.
Unlucky for Bitboy. He wanted to save it with his right foot, but his left foot came in the way, and he couldn't clear it from the goalpost, but it went inside rather.
In fact, that's the last goal of that second half, with Bitboy scoring the own goal. And well, a thrilling start to the day with 5 goals scored, with Torino running away with it here. Pole possession, all theirs. Keep in mind, they had a man sent off, did Torino, in the early stages of the second half. All the numbers in their favor. Tuks with just the 1 shot on target was struggling from the get-go. Again, when you look at the total attacks, it says University of Pretoria attacking more than Torino. They just couldn't find the penetration they were looking for, Tuks, and it's Torino that were not only finding the penetration, but putting them away and scoring all the way.
Another good day for University of Pretoria. Only 1 shot on target for them. From the very first minute, they seem to be struggling. Towards the end of the first half, we thought that they'd come back into the game, but the second half, it was not to be, as that game ended in 5-0. Right now, though, I am now joined by Coach Nicolas Stothard of University of Pretoria. Coach, thank you so much for joining me. A great day for the Future Champions tournament, especially because it's about development. It's not just about the win. But what do you make of that 60 minutes?
Obviously not the greatest performance. Would have liked to have ended on a better note, but nonetheless, I said before, you have to give credit to the organisers and the sponsors for obviously putting this platform before the kids. We need to go back to the drawing board. They've obviously seen what the level is like, and if we are to return, we're going to have to improve our game tenfold. So yeah.
Now you talk about the fact that they've seen what the level is like. This is an international development program. What do you make of the development of the youngsters within this week?
Listen, they'll have experiences to take with them, and they'll learn from their mistakes. But nonetheless, they would have learned from the likes of Atletico, the likes of Torino, all the best teams around Europe. So they're just going to have to take the memories, take the experiences, and see what they can do going forward.
Thank you so much, Coach, and good luck going forward.
Thanks a lot.
That is, of course, Coach Nicholas Stothard of University of Pretoria saying, you know what, it's all about being the development, but it is the 2015 winners. They finished 1st last year, and this time they see themselves finishing 9th. Up next, though, it is the women's Gauteng Cecil League winners, which is, of course, playing against the University women's team, that are rather champions, that is TUT versus JVW after this.
It wasn't my way, it was no. Huh? If it was my way, I would prefer do like interview, proper interview. Like how? She gets there, same thing as Nono was trying to achieve. Yeah. And then as he introduced, he turned like he's saying. So I'm mixing Nono and your thing. Yeah. So you there, Amanda's here. Yeah. He's scratching the backdrop.